Hi, it is my pleasure to introduce Colette Rees, who holds the title of Chief Marketing Officer and Communications Officer at Mary's Woods, a nonprofit organization providing comprehensive care for seniors. Not just the marketing maven, though, she is an Emmy-award-winning producer. Her background includes shaping the creative and promotional narratives at KGW and KATU television in Portland. Additionally, her vast experience spans a national level, having held positions at the National Vice President at the ABC Television Network Advisory Board. So today we're going to dive into the mind of this change maker who seamlessly merges the world of media, marketing, and meaningful service. Colette, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks Christian for inviting me. Happy to be here.
Sounds good. So tell us a little bit about your upbringing. How did it all start? What influenced your decision to start a career in television? Did you always want to be in television? Take us all the way back from the beginning.
Well, the truth is I always wanted to be in television. I was a big Jane Pauley fan, so that's going to date me, but I was a big Jane Pauley fan on the Today Show. And even in fourth, fifth grade, I knew I wanted to be on television. The only hesitation was my curly hair. And I would look on TV and no one had curly hair. They were all, straight and coiffed. And so I wrestled in the Kentucky humidity with my curly hair for years. Went to school, chose the school that I went to because they had guaranteed internships in a major market. So in college, I interned at the ABC television station in St. Louis. And it was there that the aha went off when I was in the newsroom, and they also needed me in the promotion department, which I didn't even know what that was. But I dutifully did that. And I realized I was better suited in marketing and advertising in the promotion department than I was in the news department, because when I was making phone calls for the desk, and if somebody got shot, I just immediately assumed they were dead. And, so I messed up a little bit on getting the facts correctly. And I was much better in the advertising department saying shots fired on the east side, or, story at 5. So I converted to the promotion team and went from there. Had a great run at the ABC station, learned a lot. And in television, you move up by moving to different markets. And that was something I was very familiar with. My father was a professional baseball player. So we moved around 3 times a year, every year as a kid. And so moving to a new city and finding out about the great things about a city, and then perhaps moving again with a different team or spring training to the home team was part of my life. So very competitive, very used to traveling, and had a heart for television from the very beginning. So used that, found my way from Kentucky to Washington State to Portland, Oregon, where I ran the creative services department, basically the in-house ad agency for the NBC affiliate and the ABC affiliate, and learned a lot along the way, and made the transition to philanthropy work when I stopped working in television. Took and this may resonate with some of the folks on your blog and in your audience. When I took a mommy break, stepped out of the workforce, and took all the energy I had into volunteering, which was more family friendly than working full time, and that created a second career for me. So went from took all my marketing skill set, started running the school auction. I thought, how hard could it be? I was running, multi-million-dollar budgets for the ABC station. How hard could a school auction be? Well, let me tell you something. For anybody that's been involved in these school auctions, trying to get people to work for you for free, and bring a team together, create an event, generate enthusiasm, advertise for that event, and it really fulfilled a need. It worked well with my home life. Parlayed that into multiple years of running the auction. Advanced that to being a development officer for a school, and moved from there to being director of philanthropy at a nonprofit senior living community in Portland. So roundabout, but I got to tell you, every tool in the toolbox from way back, I use it to this day. So it's been a interesting journey, an informative journey, and met a lot of friends along the way, and gained a lot of skills.
Wow, what a story. Have gone from the schools now to the senior. You were in TV. Very exciting. What a journey. Curious, like, is there anything that stands out? Whether it be in TV or when you were working with the schools that really had an impact, on you and that you bring forward to today.
I think the ability to set a vision for a team, uh, be energetic about it. So many times energy and positivity wins the day. And when you're building a team of workers for free, volunteers, or you're building a team where people may have been used to doing things a certain way, if you're coming into an organization that we've always done it this way, being able to read the room, understand what makes your team tick, because you can't do it all, right? You do need a team. And so understanding who's on your team. I mean, I guess I'm going to go back to a baseball analogy, right? I mean, you got to know who's your pitcher, who's your shortstop, who's your catcher, who's on your team, and then you have to craft in your mind a strategy, given the people on your team, how you're going to win the day. And so whether it's a baseball team, which I grew up learning a lot about from very, very little, to a team of professionals at the television stations that I worked at, a team of volunteers at school, understanding who your players are, what they can bring to the table, making sure that they know how much you appreciate them and what they can do, and then offering in the best way you know how to encourage them to tweak their approach. If you have maybe a standing, if you have standing to be able to tweak their approach, then be able to offer that, and then build them up and go forward and sell your product, but also sell your team.
Mhm. Yeah, that's really great insights. I would have to imagine, especially in the nonprofit world, that is really that's how you have to motivate people, right? It's because you're asking for time, you're asking for them to volunteer themselves, versus maybe in a more typical corporate job, you can dangle promotions and money and things like that in front of them. I'm curious, like what particularly maybe you've taken away from the nonprofit world that you think applies to maybe the corporate world, or others maybe should be thinking about.
Well, in the nonprofit world, it doesn't mean no profit. If there's no profit, there's no mission. So you do have to bring a business acumen to the work that you're doing. I think that being very mission forward is being very mission forward is is something that businesses can adapt, can take in. Not that businesses aren't mission forward, but I do think that they're focused on the customer, and I think they need to. And I think there is something about focusing on the customer and the solution or the service that you're providing to the world.
Yeah.
So go a little bit macro in the thinking about your place in the world. I appreciate being able to talk passionately about Mary's Woods and our place in the world, and then bring it into the micro focus of the customer, the residents that are here, and how that fits into our global place.
Sure.
So it's a teetering balance between macro and micro vision. Listen to the customer, but also think about your place in the world, and your place in the world 10 years from now, 20 years from now. How are you going to make that happen?
Yeah, no, that's a really great perspective on how to apply that. Yeah, I love that. So let's shift gears a little bit. You mentioned, growing up, your dad was a professional baseball player. You were around that. What did you play sports growing up? What are maybe some of your passions outside of, philanthropy and obviously marketing?
So I played basketball growing up for a little bit, but my dad's profession, he was the one, bringing in the money for the family. So we moved. So some of those spring sports we couldn't play in because we picked up and moved to Florida for 6 weeks for spring training. No one's crying me a river over that, right? I understand that. So we moved to spring training for 6 weeks. We would come back. He happened to be with the Minnesota Twins. So we spent many, many summers in beautiful Minneapolis, and then back to Kentucky on the farm during the off season. And so um, there was a competitive nature that was involved that maybe I inherited genetically, but also culturally. And there was also the ability, right, to meet people. It was from the very beginning, you're introducing yourself, you're making friends, you're building a community wherever you are. And so that kind of go get 'em part of my life has definitely played a role for outside. So I'm involved with the group, the family that I made out here in Oregon. My family is all in the central time zone. I'm in Oregon, and so I'm very involved with the family that I've created here. Not just, my 2 kids and my husband, but the friends from school, involved in church, where I'm at, involved in for COVID medicine, being in the senior living community. COVID was tough on everybody, but particularly fearful. And when you're working in senior living, we're the largest senior living nonprofit single site, not part of a conglomerate on the West Coast. We have 40 acres, 750 residents. And so it was a super intense time. So pandemic medicine for me was I picked up sailing. I took sailing lessons and got me out of work, got me outside, got me in the sunshine. And it was very meditative and learning a completely brand new skill. Not a lot of open water for sailing in Kentucky. So brand new skill on the Columbia River, affected by the tides, affected by the gorge winds, affected by barges blowing through, taking their grain to the interior or exterior. So it put me in a place where I didn't know anything. And it put me in a place where it was very, nature was involved. But yet there was a lot of metaphors that I took from picking up sailing. You're trying to navigate, and you've got a point across on the other side where you're navigating to, but the wind's coming in, the tide is rising, the current is strong. And so you're constantly shifting that rudder to keep yourself on point. And so it has sailing and learning how to sail. By no means I'm going to call myself a sailor, but that has helped bring a broader perspective to my work life, my home life, my parenting life. Is that, yeah, things come up and you do have to adjust, and maybe you're going to adjust your, where you thought you were going to end up on the other side, but you're going to get there safely. That's the main thing.
Sure. Yeah, that's great. That's a really great hobby that you've been able to pick up. Definitely a silver lining that came out of a bad situation, that you picked up something that you're really passionate about. And love the metaphor, and just on life, because it's true. No matter what you do, you can. What's the quote that I love? You can't change the tide, but you can learn to surf. And
right.
It's very similar there. So great. Thanks for sharing that. So yeah, let's talk a little bit. You've mentioned Mary's Woods. Tell us about, you're obviously now the Chief Marketing Communications Officer. You have already been in the organization for a number of years, so you're not new to the company, but new to the role. But tell us a little bit more about the organization and what your role looks like now.
So we are we just celebrated our 20 years as an organization, but our history and heritage goes back over 100. We're a sponsored ministry of the Sisters of the Holy Names of Jesus and Mary. They came out to Oregon from Canada, and at the request of the diocese here, to start schools. And they were they're an order that responds to the needs of the time, and so they're a very adaptable group of progressive visionary women. And they had land that they bought, and they had orphanages on it. They had a health center for their aged nuns on this 40-acre property. They had adjacent land to the property where they built a college at the time. So they have expanded in different ways. About 40 years ago, they were discerning about what to do with all the property that they had. And they had heard about, and they're more prominent on the East Coast, but continuing care retirement communities where folks come in, independent living homes or apartments, and if they need higher levels of care, then they can seamlessly move to assisted living or memory support, or long-term care for those that might have mobility, long-term mobility needs. So we have evolved out of that vision. We have 400 employees. The FTE total is just under 300. We have 750 residents on 40 beautiful acres. Centered around the heart of the community is a provincial house that was built in 1910. And from that provincial house, they first started with apartment wings off of the provincial house about 20 years ago. We built standalone homes as the land rolls down to the Willamette River. Beautiful townhomes, and or single level, I mean to say, homes on the river. And then 5 years ago, we filled up the 40 acres. The last open space that was there, we brought in more apartment buildings. The silver boom, as they call it, is coming with the need for senior living options. And so we brought in 4 new apartment buildings and a community center. And the unique thing about the property is, as part of that recent development, there is a front-facing component to the community where we have a retail space that we call the Village Square. And it has services, amenities, and offices that are available to the entire public, but are really targeted to help our population. So medical offices, optometrist, dental offices, training center, coffee shop. And so it's like a mini city around here with a hospital.
Yeah.
Hospital. But yeah, it's we've got multiple dining venues, maintenance, as you might imagine, housekeeping, very vibrant place.
Yeah, sounds like a wonderful facility. This is resonating with me as well. We're actually starting to look for my mom in particular. So I'm on the very early stages of something like this, but it sounds like a really great place. So tell me about your role then in particular. How do you, as I'm saying, I'm in many ways a potential prospect of yours. You need to, from what I understand, obviously be marketing towards the seniors that may live there, but oftentimes it's their families as well. And curious, talk to me about how you guys do that. How do you think about that?
With the way that we're set up as a life plan community, the decision maker, our primary decision maker, is in fact the resident. They're coming in, independent living. Most often how these communities work is they are under a residency and care agreement that comes in with an entrance fee, and the entrance fee comes from generally at the sale of a property, and they transfer that entrance fee to Mary's Woods. And at the end of their time at Mary's Woods, their estate receives 80% back of the entire amount. So the 20% that Mary's Woods keeps the community infrastructure going. That's how the roofs get shingled. That's how the roads get paved. And so there's that investment into the infrastructure of the community upfront and their monthly service fees. And so the assessment is being made by the prospective residents. Because they are like, I love my home, but the yard is too much to keep up. One resident's story told me, she said, the day my husband came home and said the refrigerator and the stove went out and I knew I needed new carpet, but I didn't know about the other two, I said, that's it, we're moving to Mary's Woods. So, we take care of all of that. So homes are a haven and a beautiful place to be and raise your family and set your kind of the center point of your community, but at some point they can become a burden. And so that's the service that we can offer a resident that is in that potential resident that's in that situation. Now, there may be a situation where if it's a couple, one of the individuals may need a higher level of care. Coming in with maybe early signs of dementia, or maybe they have a diagnosis of Parkinson's and getting around their house is a little more difficult. And so we're set up for that. We're set up for accessibility. Generally, the family will be involved in a situation like that, because it may be likely that one individual out of the couple will be moving forward in the continuum of care, and the other one might be staying independently and letting us happily proudly shoulder the responsibility of the caring for the activities of daily living, so there's not caregiver burnout. And so that's a family decision. So we talk a lot about what we think are our unique differentiators. One, the campus is amazing. So if you're struggling with giving up your beautiful home, this is a beautiful place to live. park-like setting, sculptures, garden, heritage trees. We just had residents, they were biology professors in a local college come in and they're like, we're putting a map together. These trees are amazing. And so on their own, they identified, a walking tour of the trees, and we put a guide together. Because part of my purview is in my role is still philanthropy. I said, how about a little pitch for giving to keep the campus grounds beautiful, and we can raise money for tree identification. And so it was a win-win. So we sell a lot, right? We market a lot about the beauty of the space that you're going to live in, because we know that's great for mental health. The other thing we talk about is safety and security. And so we're in a 40-acre campus off of the road in a very nice suburb outside of Portland. And if you're going to higher levels of care, we've got concierge available to assist, nurses on standby 24/7, caregivers. And so there is in addition to roving security, but so security is really like the next pull. And then the other thing, which is hard to maybe put into a print ad or a Google post, is the people that you meet. I mean, there's a lot of maybe anxiousness about a move like this that could bring up fear, or I'm leaving behind, or I'm losing. And the beauty of embracing a community is that the opportunity for new friendships is there. They're the same journey of life that you are. They're interesting. They've, been to places that maybe you have or you would want to go. And so there's the gift of friendship that comes. And for some it comes sooner, and for some it comes later, because maybe the kids were pushing, mom and dad a little bit soon, but it always comes. The gift of friendship always comes, and that's a beautiful thing to see. So I think those are the biggest, the big three things that we try and talk about, is the unique setting, because there are a lot of senior living options. There wouldn't be a lot of senior living options if there wasn't an audience for that. And so there is. And so what every community talks about, and then you need to make sure that you're representing yourself well, is what is different about what you do, and is there a value? Is the return that you receive back, is it good for the value? And so we're not a value community, but we do, because the kind of community that we are, brings in services and amenities that are above what you might see in potentially national chains. But we do provide a lot of service, amenities, and uniqueness in the Northwest.
Sure. Yeah, sounds like definitely a great place, and a great thing that you guys have built there. So you'd mentioned that you still have responsibilities when it comes to fundraising. I'm curious, what are some of the KPIs now in your role that you are responsible for? How do you think about that?
So the philanthropy work here, we're a nonprofit, and the reason why we're a nonprofit has nothing to do with the sisters, and it has everything to do with the federal government. And so the federal government, back in the 1970s, granted nonprofit status to communities like ours if they did three things. They provided housing, and it wasn't just housing and here's your food and call it a day. It was in community involvement, engagement activities. So housing, you provide healthcare, so along the continuum, and then if someone comes to your community, you can't kick them out if they run out of money. And so the philanthropy work that we do is raising money to stand in the gap for those community members through no fault of their own. Life happens. One individual out of the couple might have to go to a higher level of care sooner than they had anticipated. And so we stand in the gap and we raise money for the resident fund. And that has expanded. That has expanded since our inception. We provide emergency assistance for employees. We provide scholarships for employees, capital improvements. So the fundraising really centers around the mission and what we need to accomplish on that three-legged stool of philanthropy. So the KPIs, and because we're a fee-for-service provider, what we have to balance is, are we raising enough money and generating enough money through interest to attend to and take care of the need that we have. So that's what we work towards for philanthropy. Because we are a fee for service, then you look at it from the business side, which is, okay, are the services we are providing sustainable, given what the market pricing is, what the competitors are offering? And so you look at that part from a business lens. So KPIs for us would be our net operating margin. It would be our occupancy rates. And so we have been fortunate that our occupancy has been in the high 90%. We are still in recovery from COVID, so our health centers are not where we need them to be. But we had tremendous occupancy gains over the last 16 months. So that's moving. I would say that how you increase occupancy is that you're sure about your quality services, right? That your reviews in terms of marketing, right? What are people saying about you outside? What are your own people, residents, saying about you in satisfaction surveys? We have a monthly survey that we do internally so that we can see trends. We used to do a once a year survey, and then by the time the surveys came in and then you gathered them all together, it was super difficult to operationalize. So we moved to a new model about 2 years ago where we're doing ongoing phone call surveys, and we are really able to see trends and address any issues that may come up, or keep doing what we're doing right, because we got great feedback on that. So that's been an essential part of an essential KPI for us as a business model. The other thing that we're just stepping into, as you mentioned it, I'm in a new role here, but we are going to look not just at the occupancy, because any number is built by a lot of other little numbers. So I'm moving our department towards, okay, what are the numbers that make that occupancy number happen? What's our conversion rate? How many reach outs are we doing in terms of marketing? How many sales qualified leads do we have? And then what is the time for conversion to customer? And so what we do, and many senior living communities do, is we have a wait list. And so would be our sales qualified lead, is how many people are on our wait list. You pay some money, nominal amount of money to get on the wait list. Probably 75% of it's refundable. So you work that wait list to convert to a customer. So marketing tries to get them to the wait list, and the wait list is where we can make we roll them into being a customer. And so the marketing funnel starts big, but we try to get them to that wait list. And because some of the folks have been on our wait list for 3 and 4 years, waiting for that special apartment with a view of Mount Hood to open up, or a 3-bedroom home that looks out onto the forest. And so sometimes our waitlisters are on there for a long time. They're happy to be on there for a long time because they want the first chance at whenever that one particular home opens up. Other folks are, the apartments are beautiful here. They love kind of the neighborhood feel. I call it, sisters from they create sister relationships or family relationships in their hallways, wine socials every Wednesday. And so we bring them in that way. So I guess I got a little bit off track there, but occupancy, net operating margin, and then and then we're working towards, what are we going to hang our hat on? I am new, but what are we going to hang our hat on to say this is what we believe is driving that occupancy number?
Sure. So Colette, before we started here, you had told us that you are bringing your marketing in-house. So I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about what does your in-house team look like, why the decision to bring it in-house, and then maybe any advice you might have for agencies.
We have a great relationship with an in-house agency for over a decade. They were essential in our work to when we did an expansion of 4 apartment units, over 200 apartment homes. They were essential in making us viable for investors to invest in, and they helped us with their digital expertise and their marketing collateral to fill up to 93% within 6 weeks. Absolutely essential. We've had the village built for 5 years now. That was our latest expansion. And as we looked at I previously talked about net operating margin. We looked at our net operating margin. We looked at our occupancy. We looked at cash flow, and again, COVID made a lot of businesses relook at how they were doing business. And so we thought, what if we took the investment that we were making and we invested in employees, gave them career paths by expanding the department, brought in experts, so that the team that you have in-house could learn what might that look like. And so that's really where that started. And so we brought the team, and it wasn't that the agency was not doing well for us. It was more of a holistic approach to how is our business going to grow. We're a single site, as I mentioned. And so opportunities for staff are really only within the 40 acres. When you're dealing with an organization with multiple properties, you can offer opportunities in different parts of the city or the nation for growth movement. So it was more of a holistic, not just a marketing decision, about why we decided to bring it in-house. We brought in a digital strategist, so someone who had the knowledge about current and best SEO practices. We are taking the ownership of our website, which we had outsourced in-house. So we've got someone on point for that. We're bringing in, because this was a missing for us in terms of operations, we're bringing in an additional communication coordinator to be the point person for our employee communications. When you're dealing with almost 300 FTEs, but 400, we're running a 24/7 operation in our health centers and, in food and beverage, huge team there to be able to cook and feed and serve everyone. The ability to have a dedicated communication professional to target our internal employee audience is absolutely imperative for operations. So we have someone dedicated to that. We have a sales and marketing assistant, a couple of resident life counselors, our sales team, and some assistants to support there, and a communications manager. So we expanded the department by 2, and we're refining our priorities. There's a lot of shiny objects that a communications and marketing team can themselves get attracted to, but also, within the organization, everyone thinks that it's a great idea for the marketing department or the communication department. So we and we have a philanthropy person, too. So we have wearing multiple hats, multiple audiences, internal and external, but all focused on learning and improving their own skill set professionally. So that helps with retention. Any business that's not thinking about retention and career paths for their employees is missing an opportunity. So what I would say for agencies, given my experience also in television, where we worked with agencies and also here at Mary's Woods, is to be able to read the room. And when you're coming into a team, or if there's been a transition, to find out what type of priorities their bosses have given the team that you're working with. In my case, we were really working on net operating margin for the whole organization. And so they were looking at that marketing budget and, drooling a little bit, right, about what might they could do with that, and are we getting a return there? And so the pressure that a marketing executive is feeling is not just about bringing customers in, leads in, but also their role within the greater organization. So understanding what their holistic pressures or priorities may be, and how you might be able to help solve that problem for them with a tweak or of where you might throw the budget money that you do have, and how you can maybe guarantee, or you can't really guarantee things in marketing, but how you might translate the money that you're spending into occupancy. Because a lot of times it's like, oh, we have this many sales qualified leads or our marketing leads, but if the occupancy number isn't moving in senior living, then that marketing executive is going to get questioned by the board, questioned by the CEO. And so how are you going to help an agency who's like, how are you going to help your marketing executive trace that investment to occupancy?
Yeah, I think that's really
bigger picture.
Yeah, really good advice. I mean, you got to know your team, what are their KPIs that they're being held to, and how can you help them achieve those goals? So yeah, really, really good advice there. You mentioned, shiny objects, and there are, their chat GPT and AI is all the rage right now. And there'll be something I'm sure tomorrow that pops up. And while I agree, you don't want to chase every shiny object. There are some really great things and tools that come out. I'm curious from your perspective, how do you stay on top of the trends in the news that's out there? Is it following social, trade publications, something else? How do you stay abreast of everything?
So I subscribe to a fair amount of newsletters that come in, and I do a Monday morning scan. I take about every Monday morning. I come in, I sort through the different newsletters. So I'm looking at senior living newsletters. I'm looking at marketing newsletters. I'm looking at fundraising blogs. I've lost too many hours of sleep on TikTok. And so I've got a TikTok, funnel for myself. And that is, short and quick, something to think about. And of course, what TikTok is giving you because of the algorithm is what you're interested in. So that has been helping. That definitely has been helping me. So it's I'm aware, of what that might be. And then I'll decide out of all the things I looked at, either to farm it to my team as a think about later or best or reading. This is not a to-do. It's not an action item, but let's read and be aware. And that's honestly how Chat GPT came up for me. I saw it early on TikTok, and I thought, wow, that could really help with some letter writing that we do or what it might be. And I will say, one of my team members, I said, just look into it. There's this new thing. I don't know if you've heard of it. And this is, back in the fall. And they thought that I was, criticizing their writing and that a robot could do better. And I was like, no, that was kind of maybe a manager encouragement fail. But I said, no. I just look, if you need an editor or, you need to cut down your words, maybe the Chat GPT could edit 50 words out way quicker than you could. So anyway, that's what that's how I try to keep abreast.
Sure. I love it. So newsletters and I like you have a little system behind it as well. So you can not get sucked into it too much.
Yes. Yeah. And I try to corral it. My Monday morning corral.
Yeah. I love that. Well, Colette, this has been an amazing conversation. Mary's Woods, such a, really great facility and organization. Really appreciate you sharing so much about it. Is there anything you'd like to share that maybe we didn't touch on here?
We didn't talk about it specifically, but I do want to encourage folks out there that have maybe had to take a parent break in marketing, that your skills are translatable to whatever you're doing to better your community and better your family. So stay in there, get involved, roll up your sleeves, and don't be hesitant for your professional story to talk about your volunteer work. Because if you can get people to work for you for free and you can get the job done, that shows gumption, and it shows your ability to connect, A to B, or, be inventive and resourceful. And so I know that a recruiter said to me one time, I have no problem hiring a working parent. As a matter of fact, I prefer them because they get more done before 8 a.m. than anybody else that's out there. So that would be my thing. Be who you are, go forward in your own mission for life that works for you and your family, and take all your skills, every skill that you have from being a volunteer or a professional, put them in your toolbox and lug that thing around and change the world.
Yeah, really great advice. And I think sometimes we take for granted these tools and skills that we've learned and how applicable they are in other areas. And I'm sure this will resonate with a lot of those parents that are out there. Colette, thank you again. So Colette Rees, Mary's Woods, thank you, and have a great rest of your week here, and good luck in your new role.
Thank you. Appreciate it.